Hello, welcome to History Tea, a channel where I spill the tea on history. Today's video will be about the unexpected friendship of Marilyn Monroe and Ella Fitzgerald in honor of Jazz Appreciation Month. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, because when I picked this topic, I thought I knew the story, and then I started researching and I realized that I did not. It's more of a mystery than straight up fact, which this channel is supposed to be. The idea I had in my head was just like facts about history and like factual stories, and this video, and I feel like the Maleba marriage video is a little bit of a mystery too. I guess you can't really go through history without finding mysteries. Did I say mystery or did I say history? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, my point is, this video is going to be a little bit of like a BuzzFeed Unsolved-esque style. So yeah, Shane and Ryan better watch out, because I'm coming for them. First, I want to start with the childhood of Marilyn Monroe. She was born on June 1st, 1926 in Los Angeles, California as Norma Jean Mortensen. She never knew who her father was, and her mother tried to be responsible for her but was unprepared and was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia when Marilyn was 6 or 7, and then pretty much spent the rest of her life in hospitals. Marilyn spent her childhood in foster homes and orphanages, feeling unwanted and often being sexually abused. When she was 15, her foster family at the time decided to move out of state, and because she was a ward of the state of California, she wasn't allowed to go with them. It was looking like she was going to have to go back to an orphanage, and she did not want that, so she decided to marry her 21-year-old neighbor just after her 16th birthday. She dropped out of school and became a housewife until her husband enlisted in the Marines, and she took a job at a radio plane munitions factory where she eventually met a photographer, became a pinup model, and then started her legendary career as the one and only Marilyn Monroe. Now on to Ella's childhood. She was born as Ella Jane Fitzgerald on April 25th, 1917 in Newport News, Virginia. She grew up mostly in New York, living in Yonkers with her mother and stepfather Joseph De Silva, until her mother died from injuries she received in a car accident when Ella was only 15. Ella's stepfather took care of her for a while before she suddenly moved to Harlem to live with her aunt. Supposedly, the abrupt change in her life was due to ill treatment from De Silva, and it's speculated that he abused her in some way. Ella began skipping school to work and earn money as a lookout at a bordello. Eventually, authorities caught up with her either due to her truancy or to the illegality of her job, and she was sent to the Colored Orphans Asylum in the Bronx. Shortly after that, due to overcrowding, she was sent to a state reformatory called the New York Training School for Girls in Hudson, New York. I'm not sure how long Ella was at that school before she escaped, but I do know that her time there was torturous. I'm not sure of any details, but there is a story of her being locked in a basement of a cottage and all but tortured, according to a former superintendent of the school. After escaping from the school, Ella was homeless and made money singing in the street. She won several competitions with her incredible voice, and after that, she joined a band and her career took off, making her the Queen of Jazz, Lady Ella, and the First Lady of Song. Now, like I said earlier, there is a bit of a mystery to this. There's actually two sides to the story, and the first one is the Macombo story. The story starts with Marilyn Monroe's vocal coach recommending that she listen to Ella Fitzgerald recordings, supposedly 100 times in a row, and Marilyn did. Then she saw her perform at the Tiffany Club in LA on November 19th, 1954. I'm not sure if seeing her perform happened after listening to the recordings or not, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that it was after. Sometime after the Tiffany Club, Marilyn found out that Ella was not allowed to play at the Macombo Club in LA simply because she wasn't glamorous enough. Now there's a common misconception that Ella wasn't allowed to play there because of the color of her skin, but that's just not true. Several African American musicians performed there before her, including Eartha Kitt and Herb Jeffries. Marilyn heard of the injustice and called the owner of the Macombo herself and told him that if he booked Ella, she would attend every single night and sit at the front table. She also said that she would bring along some of her celebrity friends and that the press would go crazy. The owner agreed, and Ella was booked for a few weeks in March of 1955. The story goes that Marilyn showed up and sat at the front table every night just like she said she would, even bringing along Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra on opening night. Ella sold out all of her shows, and the owner even added an extra week to her contract. And this success skyrocketed her career. We believe this story because of an interview that Ella gave Miss Magazine in 1972 saying, "I owe Marilyn Monroe a real debt. She personally called the owner of the Macombo and told him she wanted me booked immediately, and if he would do it, she would take a front row table every night. She told him, and it was true due to Marilyn's superstar status, that the press would go wild. The owner said yes, and Marilyn was there, front table every night. The press went overboard. After that, I never had to play a small jazz club again. She was an unusual woman, a little ahead of her times, and she didn't know it." Now, this brings me to the second part of the story, the Tiffany Club story. Yes, Ella herself said that Marilyn helped her book the gig and was there every night, but she also said that the press went wild, yet there is not one picture of Marilyn at the Macombo any night that Ella was performing there. There are pictures of Judy Garland and Frank Sinatra and other celebrities at the time, but no Marilyn. And supposedly Marilyn was in New York at the time. This is where it gets tricky, and we'll probably never know the truth unless we hold a seance. There's a newspaper clipping from the time that says, "Ella Fitzgerald at the Macombo, Marilyn Monroe, a big Ella fan, agented the booking." But remember, this doesn't say that Marilyn was there. Then there's a memo from Marilyn's secretary of a conversation she had with Jo Brooks, the wife of Ella's publicity agent. It basically states that Marilyn, after seeing Ella perform at the Tiffany Club, decided that she wanted to throw a party for Ella as a celebration of her Macombo debut after Ella had mentioned a possible date there. The memo was basically Jo Brooks asking if Marilyn was serious about that because Ella had a performance coming up there. And Marilyn's secretary said that she didn't think Marilyn would be in town at the time, but she would let her know of Ella's performance. There's no evidence of any party being thrown, and this memo would lead you to believe that not only was Marilyn not there to see Ella perform, but that she didn't even set up the booking. The theory is that Ella's quote in 1972 was her confusing seeing Marilyn at the Tiffany Club with seeing her at the Macombo. And as for her saying that Marilyn set up the booking and then this memo leading us to believe that she didn't, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for Ella to lie about this, and I don't know if there's anything else that happened around that time that she could have confused it with. Maybe at the time of the memo, Jo Brooks and Marilyn's secretary didn't know of Marilyn setting up the booking. It's a thought. I don't know what the truth is. I mean, maybe the memo could be fake. I don't know when that came into the picture. And I also don't know what Ella's mental state was in the 70s. I mean, maybe she was confused at that time. I'm not sure. But I think because we don't know what the truth is, that means that we get to choose whichever story we want. So I'm personally going to choose to believe that Marilyn helped a woman that she admired so much and the two became great friends. Both Marilyn and Ella suffered through traumatic childhoods and found a common ground that started a great friendship. Whether or not Marilyn helped Ella get into the Macombo, they were definitely friends. Marilyn was once quoted saying, "Well, my favorite person, and I love her as a person as well as a singer, I think she's the greatest, and that's Ella Fitzgerald." I've also heard stories of Marilyn refusing to stay at hotels unless Ella was allowed to stay there as well, and refusing to enter a club unless Ella was allowed to enter through the front door with her, but I don't know if any of these are true. When Marilyn died in 1962, her ex-husband had a small and private service excluding all of her celebrity friends, so Ella was not in attendance. It's also been reported that while they had a good friendship, Marilyn's drug use kept them from creating a stronger bond because Ella didn't like anything to do with drugs or alcohol or cigarettes, and she wouldn't even sing songs about them. We may never know the truth about Ella and Marilyn in the Macombo, but their friendship will continue to inspire me and hopefully inspire others. They're a great example of how two people who seem to have nothing in common at first glance can come together with more similarities than you'd ever imagine and help each other. And that's the tea on history. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. If you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe and to click the little bell to be notified when I upload a new video. I'll be linking all of my social medias in the description box below so you can keep up with me there. And I'll also be linking a video that someone made of Ella and Marilyn singing Lazy together. It also includes a little soundbite at the beginning of Marilyn's quote that I read in this video, so make sure to check that out. I forgot to like drink my tea in this video. I still have a whole bunch left and I've been filming all day. Down the hatch. A little old, so it was a little not so mixed at the bottom.